Today we are doing a video I do every year, which is my best and worst series tag. Normally, the reason that I do this tag is because I read so much in series, and I feel like my end of the year lists sometimes don't fully reflect the series reading that I do in terms of books that I really loved, but maybe I love them in the context of being in a series, but maybe they don't actually warrant being a best of book on their own kind of a thing. So that was why I originally developed this tag. This year, I will say, we're in a little bit of a different situation because I read so much less out of series. Am I just making this up? I feel like I read almost half and half out of series versus standalone, which feels like a lot less. Yeah, I guess I typically hover, hopefully I'm putting up the graph. I hover somewhat around the 50% mark, but last year, for example, I read a lot more in series. I usually am weighted more to series than in not. And this year, I think I slightly read more standalones than series. So some of this is just that I don't think I read as much in series this year. And then I don't think I read a lot of things that I loved in series this year. I didn't finish as many series. Last year I finished so many series because it was a very big focus in terms of what I wanted to get done in 2023. I forget, I want to say I finished 25 series, something crazy. This year I only finished, I think 5-ish. I didn't finish very many series. So I did make progress in a lot of series or sort of kept up with series, but it didn't feel like a particularly good series reading year for me. So for some of these, I don't have an answer. I'm going to have to double count a book in several categories. So yeah, this one I feel like is not going to be as exciting of a tag. I'm really selling you on this, aren't I? I do have some good series to talk about, but just compared to some other years, maybe not my strongest. Okay, with that being said, let's just dive on in because there's a lot of questions. So number one is, what is the best series that you caught up with this year that is still a work in progress? So the series is still ongoing, but I am now caught up after being behind. And I would say the Deadlands series by Katie Wilde. This is a romantasy/fantasy romance series. I really love the world building. I feel like it's just enough for it to be truly a romance rather than a I feel like sometimes romantasies are really they sometimes read to me as YA fantasy, but with smut. To me, this is a romance first series, and it has a cool world to support the different romance stories. So, yeah, the world is called the Deadlands. There's magic, but it's kind of perilous to use the magic. And I read 2 this year. I read The Midsummer Bride and The Harvest Bride. Both were good. Harvest Bride is more they're creatures that are spun off from these magical goings on. I don't want to spoil things. And they're it's a love story between 2 people who are hunting those down. And then The Midsummer Bride was really interesting because the heroine is cursed, and she thinks that the hero meets the criteria of the person who's supposed to be able to break the curse and help her land be restored. But he thinks she has something that is causing his land to have this stone sickness. So anyway, it's so good. It has such good external conflict, and I really like the romances. It's just great. Anyway, I that was the best series that I caught up with this year. I think I had 1 or 2 that I was behind on in that. Okay, what is the best work in progress series you're still catching up with? And I would say the overall World of the White Rat. So I keep saying I need to make more progress because I've given, I think, all 3 of the books I've read so far in this series a 4.5. I think I gave 1 a 4. So 2 4.5s and a 4. That is a great track record. I need to keep going in this series, and I am going to make that a plan for the coming year. So there you go. I definitely need to make more progress there. And there's still books coming out, so that's why it's in progress. What is the best completed series that you're still catching up with? I didn't have an answer for that this year. What is your favorite first book in a series this year? This is where it was hard to pick. I had a lot of books I could have used as my answer, and I ended up going with The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Dirts just because this was a 5-star. So like by definition, I think I have to say it was the best first book. I think that these books are not going to be like serialized. They're going to be more episodic, but in the same world with like related characters. And I think the next one so this one has the librarian who saved a bunch of the spell books when the main capital was getting ransacked by the revolution. The next book, the main character is a librarian who was turned into a piece of wood in this book, and we think it died. But the synopsis for the next one says that she did not die, she escaped. She's going to fall in love with a magical gardener. Can't wait. So I'm very excited for that. This is the best first book that I read. So excited for more. Okay. Let's see. What is the first book in a series you read this year that you think should have just been a standalone, not in a series? That's number 4. And I have the same, so I'm going to combine number 4, which is what was a first book that should have just been a standalone, with number 8, which is what is the biggest cliffhanger this year. So my answer for both of those is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. I really liked Her Majesty's Royal Coven right up until the cliffhanger ending. And if that had been omitted, it could have been a standalone, and I think it would have been better for it because there's a huge cliffhanger. And thank God the next one was already out and I didn't have to wait for it. So I went to read, The Shadow Cabinet, and I DNF'd it because it was not good. And the way that the cliffhanger was dealt with was not to my taste. So I wish it had just been a standalone, but it wasn't. And the reason it wasn't is because of the gigantic cliffhanger that it had. So yeah, just my opinion, but this is my video, so I guess that's all that really matters. Number 5, what is your most overhyped series of the year? I decided to go with Wolf Hall for this by Hilary Mantel because I have no idea why this is considered to be a classic. I think my worst / disappointing video has already gone up. So if you want to hear my full like WTF about it, you can go watch that video. But needless to say, I am befuddled and perplexed about why people think this series is so great. In terms of overhyped, I couldn't even get through the first book. I couldn't get past, I think, the first 100 pages because I found it so dull. So I don't understand. For me, it's very overhyped. I know that, clearly I'm in the minority because people consider this to be a classic of modern literature. Don't understand that, but at all. Okay. Number 6 is what is the series that you DNF'd this year? And I'm going to combine that with number 7A, which is what is your least favorite series finale of the year? And I'm so sad. Again, you can go see my worst / most disappointing books video for a full rundown. But my answer to both of these is Jade War. Or the Jade War, whatever, the Greenbone Saga. There you go. That series. And then the last book is Jade Legacy. I noticed something in the writing that bothered me. I'm kind of a broken record on this. I don't want to rehash it too much, but I DNF'd it. I DNF'd a trilogy in the 3rd book. That was how much the writing was bothering me. So yeah, we'll just leave it there. Okay. What was your favorite series finale of the year? And then that's number 7, and I'm combining it with number 13, which was, what's your favorite series you finished this year? And by default, the answer to both of these is Mirrored Heavens by Rebecca Roanhorse, because this is the only series that I finished this year that I think is worth really mentioning. I liked but didn't love this book. For me, sadly, this is a trilogy where each book went down a half star. So Black Sun is still one of my all-time favorite books, 5 stars. Fevered Star, I really liked, and I gave it a 4.5. So it's not an all-time favorite, but I still really liked it. This book, I think, I gave a 4 star. I think like what happens in it is really good, but I think it needed to either be lengthened, which is so rare. You guys know That's not usually what I'm saying. It either needed to be lengthened or more accurate, or like what I think actually should have happened is I think they should have broken this up into 2 books and made this a quartet rather than a trilogy. I think the story would have had like more room to breathe in certain parts, and the ending would have felt a little less rushed. But the content of what happened, I really liked. And then I still love Shyla, obsessed with her. Love that character. And then I always love Rebecca Roanhorse's writing. So not like it feels a little lackluster because I'm saying my favorite series like ended with my least favorite book in the series, but I do still really like that trilogy. And yeah, I don't know. This is just kind of by default where we're at. So I did, like I said, I think I finished 5 series maybe this year. It was a lot. It was a year of making progress or reading a lot of sequels, but not a year of finishing things. Okay. What is your favorite spin-off series you read this year? Now, this is somewhat of a cheat because this is technically a continuation of the original series. But the original series had a definitive ending, so I consider this somewhat of a spin-off. And that is the new Percy Jackson trilogy that's coming out. This book was so great. It fixed not a problem I've had with the originals, but like if I were going to critique the originals, I think sometimes they're a little overlong and a little repetitive. I think that's a part of the genre that he's writing in. These are also, I think, aged up. So the original series is middle grade, and I would say that these definitely read more distinctively as YA. There was a really beautiful scene in this that made me cry. And I'm just so excited that Uncle Rick has still got it. And I'm reading the next one over Christmas. I'm so excited to treat myself to that. Then, what is your most anticipated next book in a series that you read this year that will come out next year? So basically, you read a book in a series this year, and there's another one coming out next year, and you're excited for it. The 2 that came to mind for me are both speculative mysteries. So I'm officially ready to accept the next book in the Shadows of the Leviathan / the Tainted Cup series by Robert Jackson Bennett into my heart, because I've heard from multiple people who've started the next one that it is an episodic type story. It is not serialized. And because of that, I am excited for it, because I thought the first book, it didn't like beg to be serialized, but I'm down for this sort of Watson Holmes type, just solving more mysteries together in this world. That I'm down for, so I'm excited for that. And then I'm also excited for the next book in the investigations of Massa and Pletty. It's like the plot. I can never remember the names of these sequels. And like this series in particular has like word salad titles, and I can never remember their names. So whatever that next one is, I really like this series so far, and I'm excited to read more in it. So, yes. And then number 11 is, what is your most anticipated series to catch up with next year based on what you read this year? So, actually, I just realized my actual answer to the last one, because I'd put it for this, but that's not correct. So my actual answer to the last one is The Last Devil to Die, or the Thursday Murder Club series. There was a hiatus in the calendar year of 2024, but in December of 2023, I read The Last Devil to Die. So technically, since I run my list from November to December every year, this made the cut, and we are getting a new Thursday Murder Club series book next year. So that's my actual answer of what I'm most excited about. Okay, just a second. Let me figure out what my new answer to number 11 is. The question is, what is your most anticipated series to catch up with next year based on what you read in the series this year? You know, actually, I was going to throw this in as a cheat, as an honorable mention, but I'll just make it the answer. The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan. This is the Wedgeford Trials series, and there are 2 more books that are out, and I am excited to catch up with them. I don't know if those are the last 2 books, like if that's a completed series, but there's at least 2 books out. and I'm hoping next year that I catch up with them. This is a historical romance series set in Wedgeford, which is the setting of the first book, and it was just a delight. Anyway, okay. What is the series, number 11A is, what is the series you're most excited to stay caught up with next year based on what you read this year? I stay caught up with the In-Depth series. It's so long that I refuse to let myself fall behind. It was so much work to get caught up. And also, I just love these books, so they're always exciting. In fact, I theoretically will get ahead because I probably will read the arc that I have of this before the end of the year for the next book. So that would mean that I was technically even ahead of the published oeuvre. So stay caught up on the In-Depth. I've got another series I'm currently behind on, but I plan to catch up on before the end of the year. And then number 13 is, what is your favorite episodic series of the year? I didn't feel like I had a good answer for that, so I'm not going to answer that one. 14 is, what is a series you finally bailed on after holding on to it for a long time? My answer to this one is Johannes Cabal. I love the book Johannes Cabal the Detective, and no other book in that series ever has really done it for me. And I was trying to finish off the series this year, and I was getting started in the next book, and I just realized, like, I think I'm searching for a magical moment that I'm just never going to recapture, and I just need to let it go. So I've been holding on to that for like 15 years, maybe. Maybe not quite that long, but like more than a decade, I've been working on that series, and I think I finally have let it go. Because I remember reading that when I lived in DC, and that was when I just graduated from college, so. Number 15, what is the series you were most surprised that you liked this year? And I'm going to make this, what is the series I'm most surprised that I loved this year? And that is Garlic and the Vampire by Brie Paulson. This is a book that, it's a duology. It's a little middle grade fantasy duology about sentient vegetables. And this book is so good. I loved it. It's about anxiety, and I love the art. So I love like the characters, the art, the message. This was just so great. And I figured I would like it. I saw it on somebody's best of the year list, and I was like, really? No, really, this is so good. And it was just for me. And I'm surprised that I love this as much as I did, because I figured worst case I'd be like, oh, and move on. But this really stuck with me. I really loved it. And then number 16, what is the series that you meant to catch up with or finish this year that you didn't? I think most. I mean, I did, like I said, I read a lot of sequels. I pulled a couple of books that were sequels. I read a lot of sequels, but I feel like in terms of like catching up or finishing, that was not so much what happened this year. And that's okay, because that was what last year was very much about. This year, I was trying to start some new series. Somewhat did that. I would say I attempted to start several series, and many of them I didn't get traction on. So yeah, I don't feel like I have a good one answer for this, but just know that many series I meant to catch up with or finish this year, and it just didn't happen. So there's that. And then number 17, I also don't have an answer for, which is, what is a series you finished or caught up with this year that you think is greater than the sum of its parts? I mean, I guess technically I would say Between Heaven and Earth, or Between Earth and Sky. Is that what it is? Between Earth and Sky. Yeah. I guess technically I would say that, but I just didn't finish enough books, or didn't finish enough series this year to really have a good answer there. So this year was a little bit lighter on meat for this tag, but hopefully it was interesting just to see my ambivalence. And here's hoping to a better year of series reading next year. Can't all be winners. That's just how it goes. So let me know how your series reading went this year. Let me know what you thought about any of the books I mentioned. And List Like Woe rolls on. I forget when the next one's going up, but it should be going up soon. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope you are doing well. Take care of each other. Like if you like this video, hit the bell if you want to know when I post, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.